Hello, and welcome to I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
Each week we'll be looking at a different brewery in the pursuit of hoppiness, analysing what makes them them, and of course, talking about the beer. In each episode we'll talk about a beer-related news topic from around the world in the hop topic.
Let's get going.
I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
Here in London.
Ding dong.
I was thinking about this last night in bed.
Smashed it. Proof for success.
There's a soon-to-be fur daddy. Another one in the bag.
I'm vetoing that. This week in the Pursuit of Hoppiness, we're going to be going to the east of England to take you down to the seaside to sample Adnams brewery, specifically Ghost Ship is the ale. But first, the hop topic.
Let's get stuck into the hop topic.
Okay, time for hop topic. Simo, what have we got?
We're going to look at Camden Town Brewery, who has rebranded its classic Camden Hells Lager to Camden Heroes, which means all proceeds are going to be sold and donated to the NHS charities.
I think it's such a good cause. It's the right time at the moment. I mean, think about what Brewdog are doing as well. You know, jumping on how breweries are stepping up to help out our heroes at the moment. They're making hand sanitizer from almost day one. They were starting to make alcohol stills.
They have, as we all know, Brewdog do some fantastic things, and they did create beer called Barnard Castle Eye Test, which was in relation to the certain political scandal, we'll call it, shall we? But all the proceeds went to the NHS in creating over 100,000 bottles of hand sanitizer with the funding they did for that, which was pretty good.
Just the idea that these beer companies are getting their hands involved in the NHS and helping them so much is incredible. It's such a powerful message that they care. And I think that's what matters.
I think how this industry has stepped up, as it were, has been great. I mean, seeing how the likes of Diageo have pumped hundreds of millions of pounds to help the support of opening of bars and help innkeepers and the staff that work at those. It's helping so many hospitality jobs. This whole industry has rallied, from whether it's from making money to give directly to the NHS, whether it's making products for sanitizers to help those fights, giving money to help and support those out of work who are either furloughed or have lost their jobs. We've seen them really rally, and I think that's great to see.
I think the idea as well that it's not always about making money, because this isn't about making money for them, it's about giving back, because they realise what the community has given for them and given to them, that they're giving back. And I think it's a really powerful message. I love it.
It's in their interest to keep the pubs and the bars and the people who work in those environments with the potential to open up again.
Yeah, as in you can potentially see it as they're just trying to make sure that they're keeping their business alive and they're making sure that the interest is still there. And there's always that link to the obvious truth that they need to stay alive, and then as a company they need to keep going. I think it's important to look at the positive of it, because yes, they're doing it because they're a business and they have to stay open. But there is also that side of they didn't have to try and promote and help the NHS, and they have.
Yeah, I think it's very human of these companies, and that's great to see.
And now for some Pursuit of Hoppiness.
Pursuit of Hoppiness.
You guys don't mind? Pursuit of Hoppiness time.
So this week we're talking about Adnams. It's a brewery in the UK in a specific place called Southwold.
Yeah, so Southwold's in East Suffolk, which is like the east side of the country, like a big seaside area. Actually, it's quite a small town, so there's nothing to it really, which is quite interesting.
It seems like the brewery itself is makes a big impact on that local area, right? They talk a lot about community and having a trust, which they give back to, around the 25 miles of the Southwold area. They give money to help stuff and help the local communities. Yeah,
so they do quite a lot for the community. I mean, they give 1% to a local charity, so they hand pick, and every year it changes. So it's not just a generic thing; they change every year to a different charity, and it's 1%, which is actually quite a lot.
They seem, with their website and what they seem to be doing, I think they do a lot of good for the community as well.
I think Adnams, specifically itself, community is a big part for most brewers, especially if they're microbrewers or smaller national specific brewers. Although in saying that, Adnams is actually sold internationally in 26 different countries, so it's not like it's just a small brewer. Now, I found out an interesting fact talking about their history. Yeah, one of the oldest breweries actually in the UK. And actually they were saying that, that they've been brewing in that area for over 670 years. And actually, really funny, when I saw they talk about this on their website, that it was one of the main people who brewed at that time was a person called Joanna de Corby, and she was nicknamed the Alewife. Probably nickname wouldn't have stood the test of time nowadays, but it worked.
I've got a certain image of what I think an alewife would look like in my head.
Yeah. Oh, go on. Do you want to paint that picture tastefully?
I don't think this would stand the test of time if I talked about it now. So
maybe we should move on.
Move on from that one.
So they are a brewer. Of course, they wouldn't be featured on here if they didn't do beer. But we've actually seen that they also do a lot of work they make and distill their own spirits, whiskey, gin, vodka, and they also seem to have their own labeled versions of wine. Whether they make the wine themselves, I couldn't find that out. I think they're just wine merchants. They just buy the wine and then they label it with Adnams styled labels. Wine itself is a white labeling of products. That's a huge business in any kind of spirit stuff. So the fact that they don't make or grow the wine themselves, they basically outsource it to it. Like other people have the wine. So if you go to most French vineyard places in France, like there'll be certain amounts of it that will come out of its own label. But then the majority of what they'll sell will go into white label solutions. That happens with cheese.
I'm glad you know so much about cheese, Jack.
If you go and buy a French brie or camembert in a Marks & Spencer's, Sainsbury's, M&S, guaranteed it's probably going to be from Isny-Saint-Mer, which is in Normandy.
As in, so it's all the same cheese, basically?
The same cheese.
Right.
I was just looking here. They have a bloke called James Davis. He's carefully selected all their wines, or their temporary wines, apparently.
He's a winemaker.
Yeah.
So I think it's just quite interesting. It's the first brewery I've come across that's so they come from beer, exactly the same process of getting it from the local community and local farmers brewing the beer, but then they also use those same raw materials and ingredients to distill into whiskey, vodka, gin.
Well, talking about distillery, I mean, they have, on their website, they claim to have the most modern distillery in the UK, with the most energy and water efficient it can be. Supposedly, it generates steam and water for the brewery, so it's like a self-contained system.
Well, let's talk about the drink then. So, Ghost Ship is their flagship product. If you're in one of the 26 countries that you can get Ghost Ship or Adnams products.
That's crazy, by the way.
26. I mean, it's mental. Big export sales team. Ghost Ship is the one that I know. Actually, doing the research for this pod was really interesting to find out all these different other ones they have, like Wave Chaser. I can put that up. They've moved into, and of course you have to as a brewer now, have low alcohol versions. So this is their take on, you've got a Ghost Ship variation. 0.5% ABV. I
actually think it's quite interesting that they've made a variation of the Ghost Ship. Maybe it's a good selling technique. I don't know, because they're saying it's the same taste. Don't worry about it.
But it's confusing.
Because I would think, wouldn't you want to have a new name?
I don't know. There's a vast variety of different non-alcoholic beers out there, sort of thing, and they all use the same name. Your San Miguel's, your Heineken.
I think this is exactly it. You can go down, as a brand, you have two choices. You can either take your existing products, so like Budweiser is a great example. It's Budweiser, and then they have different variations or slight variations on Budweiser itself. But they also have their non-alc version, which is the Prohibition-styled one that JKR did, I think. And it's like black and white. That's all it is. Yeah. And it's just Budweiser, the same design as their Budweiser red can, the one that was redone recently-ish in the last couple of years, but just black. So it's similar, I guess, to Ghost Ship in that they've just changed the colours slightly to what they're doing.
I mean, I love it.
It's warmer.
I really enjoy that.
I love that logo. I think it's incredible.
But then it goes round to the second option you can do is for non-alcoholic versions is create a whole new line of beers that's non-alcoholic specific. Actually, Carlsberg did that with their Sinebukov brewery, which is their Finnish arm, and they created a whole new line of non-alcoholic beers or low ABV beers called Crisp. So it wasn't anything to do with their already portfolio of drinks. It was just a whole new product line.
So Zippy was like a brand new brewery.
It's an interesting way to do it. You always look at the story. I know, and it's not about beer, but when Coke came in and they brought in New Coke, which was a different flavour, absolutely tanked. But they marketed it exactly the same as they did their original Coke. And it just didn't sell. Everyone was hating it, and it just absolutely tanked. And
we could do a whole podcast episode on Coke's, marketing failures. But that's good because they put themselves out there.
Yeah,
they try stuff like Coke Clear, for example. Absolute, like their way of trying to get a tab was a huge soft drink in the US, and they brought out Coke Clear, and it just completely tanked. And I think, but you have to, as a brand, put yourself out there.
Yeah,
you have to try new things. That's how innovation happens. So I think this is safe for them. This is the safest option they could do. There's an area and a market for it. low ABV. Consumers want low ABV products. So they say, well, let's make a version in our own image, best-selling image of Ghost Ship.
You've said that they don't just do ale. So they obviously know what they're doing. They know how to advertise it.
Well, I think going back to it, I think we know what they're doing because Ghost Ship is a great beer. Jazz, why don't you talk us about the product?
We're drinking Adnams Ghost Ship, a citrus pale ale, and we have decided to go for the mini keg. Joe, why have we gone for the mini keg?
Availability.
As we've discovered preparing for this podcast, it's hard finding some beers.
Well, I certainly think we'll touch on that about buying and the kind of the purchase funnel, because actually availability massively impacts, how successful brands are and products are.
So that was more availability that we managed to get it. And so we got the mini keg, we had to chill it. It was more interesting trying to tap into it. It confused me a bit to start with.
So a mini keg, for layman's terms, again, I've never had one of these before. Talk us through how you did it.
Oh, the mini keg. So, conveniently there were some instructions on top. So you had to release the pressure from the top on this little red cap, which was it was a bit misleading because then it suddenly shot out. And then I just assumed you had to close it again. And so then I struggled to try and pour it because there was no pressure, there was no pressure in there. So then you put out this lovely little nozzly bit, turn it to the left and you can pour the perfect pint. Oh, you have to be able to pour the perfect pint.
Would we class it as a golden ale? It's hoppy. It's not overly hoppy. It's quite clear.
It's quite mellow.
Mellow, but actually, I'm finding that it's drying my mouth out a little bit, and I like it's a really good taste. But I'm feeling like I just generally need a glass of water with me.
Okay.
I could only have maybe one or two of these if I was in a pub. It's really nice, but I couldn't go overboard.
Right.
This ale, I feel comfortable in a pub. I would feel comfortable at home watching TV or watching sport. As in, it feels like this would fit into so many different situations.
Why don't we try and nail it down a little bit more and we'll give it a little bit more specifics? It's a great beer, but I think there's a time and a place for it. If someone turns up with his mini keg, it'll get drunk at a party.
Yeah, I'm assuming I wouldn't personally buy a mini keg to put in my fridge at home to then drink throughout the week, say. It's just not practical in that sense. I just don't think it takes up a lot of space.
Probably doesn't fit. I mean, it won't fit now. Now we've kegged it. Now we've tapped it.
Yeah.
We won't be able to fit it in the fridge.
No,
we've got to drink it.
Yeah.
For me though, I don't think.
Oh God.
Is that me? Am I jumping in?
No.
He's just making a joke about having to drink the beer.
Yeah. Over the head. No, as in I was saying that for me, it doesn't suit a keg in the way that it advertises it. For me, that's like a let's drink it quick, let's get drunk is when I see a keg.
Why do you think they offer it in a keg then?
I think they're trying to appeal to probably maybe a younger audience because it's a fancy thing to drink, isn't it? So for me, it's because I've seen it with my granddad and with my parents drinking it. I see that as you go to a proper pub and you sit down and you have an Adnams. And so the fact I see it in a keg is actually a little bit confusing against what I think the Adnams stands for in the terms of it's supposed to be a traditional chilled out drink.
So like saying that, I would drink this in a pub. I wouldn't drink this at home. I wouldn't actively go out and buy it. But in a pub, it's the right setting sort of thing. I think when there's an open fire, you've just been out and about a seaside town, and a pub there would be when I would drink this. So
I just pulled this up because I think it was quite interesting. So Adnams and Camden Hells will definitely be doing a podcast on Camden at some point.
Yeah.
I've done this collaboration, Camden on Sea. Going back to its roots, Adnams is on the water. That's what they're owning in their brand. Ghost Ship, pirate ships.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about. It's on the pirate ships. That's what makes me think of it, image anyway, the illustration.
If you look in their history, they've actually got a history of a battle that went on nearby in the 1800s.
So that's where Ghost Ship gets its name from, maybe.
So there's a little blurb on the side of the keg here that says, inspired by the tales of old smuggling ships along the Suffolk coast, this hauntingly good pale ale is full of citrus and biscuit aromas.
Biscuit.
Yeah, citrus and biscuit aromas with a spooky hoppy bite.
Now you're saying that, I do get a bit of hobnob.
No, as in, right, this is a question for everybody. I taste the citrus, do you?
Yes, it's light.
I don't so much taste the citrus, but I get the citrusy drying my mouth out.
We basically agree, 2 to 3, pretty much 3. There's citrus to it. However, I can't taste this biscuit.
Beer has gone the way of fine wines, in that they're talking about differentiate the taste palette and trying to actually articulate the taste palette is difficult. You know, sommeliers get paid a lot of money to basically articulate what they're tasting and put it in a way which we could understand what we're tasting. Biscuit, maybe that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
That sounds like a copywriter's had a bit of fun there.
I think with a lot of alcohol companies now and a lot of things, they're trying to sell an experience as well as the beer in itself, sort of thing. So you have a lot of lagers and stuff market themselves as the sports beer. You're going to drink this at the sporting event. You're going to drink all of these and cheer for your team.
Rich, talk us through what the Adnams beer drinking experience is then.
Well, I say it's more they're trying to sell the seaside. They're trying to sell the sea, down by the seaside, down by the shore. Like I said, you're going to be drinking this in a pub. It's just very nautical.
It was transporting you there, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think it's also, they're trying to make a relaxed vibe. It's not, I mean, it even says that. Ready to drink, just chill and start pouring. I feel like they're not trying to push it on you. You're going to drink and enjoy this, and you're going to enjoy the company of the people around you. So I think it's got that vibe, and that links directly to, for me, like you go to the seaside, I can imagine having a fish and chips, you know, and having a beer, and it would probably be a ghost ship.
So all the links for Adnams, the website, Twitter, Instagram, and their Untapped will all be available at the bottom end of the description of the podcast. And actually, it's interesting to see that Instagram is and Twitter huge areas for Adnams. You know, I've seen that they've got 26,000 people on Instagram, and on Twitter they've got close to 50,000 people.
Huzzah!
Following, which for a brewery who's so local in how they talk about themselves and the area that they cover in the Southwold, from an area I've never heard of up until doing the research for this, they've got a global presence.
Do they have a good Twitter game though? Is there?
I want to see more banter. I agree with you. More banter. And for our American audience, a bit of back and forth. And that's all we have time for from this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.